Better late than never. Welcome back to Real Actors. This is the series where we go through, we pick an actor, actress, and we kind of talk about them. We talk about the stuff that they do because that's what we do here on this show. That's an intro for you. It's the intro that you are getting. Sure. And it's not just me. I have my co-host with me tonight from let's just go this way. We're going to say host of Walker Bites and also voice actress on The Walking Bread from time to time. The Walking Deb is here.
Hi, guys. Nice to be here.
Nice to be here.
Nice to have me here, too, right? I'm sure.
I don't know what you just said. What did you just say?
I said nice to be here, and I'm sure it's nice to have me here as well.
Sure. Well, I don't know. We'll see. It might not be. The verdict's still out. All right. And my other co-hosts on most of these, Real Actors, and from time to time, some director's cut as well, Becki Morgan, professional makeup artist, Becki Morgan.
Hi, I'm the other sister.
I didn't say it this time, ass.
You kind of did. You kind of said the other co-host.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
If you put other in front, she's been on, 5 shows. She's already deepening up.
No, listen. Just make it my official. The other sister.
The other sister. The other sister.
Not a movie.
What?
Yeah.
Special girl. Let me stop you there.
Oh, I know what it's about. I know.
It's bad enough that I'm not even gonna go there. But I'm not that other sister.
No, you're not. That would be me.
Okay. Well, yeah, we're talking Natalie Portman this week, ladies. We haven't focused on a female actor yet, and we put out a poll, and on that poll was Kathy Bates and Helena Bonham Carter, and I thought that was fine, but then you guys were like, oh, we should throw Natalie Portman on there, and guess who won? So we're talking Natalie Portman.
Yes,
not my fault. Helena.
I say that begrudgingly, but it actually, going through and rewatching a lot of these films, Natalie Portman, she kind of sticks out, and you think, you just kind of think Star Wars prequels. At least that's for me. Maybe it's my age or something. I don't know, but I just always think of Star Wars prequels when I think about Natalie Portman now. But I'm so glad that we did this, and we did get Natalie Portman on here, or not on the show. Maybe she's watching. I don't know. But, as a focus piece, because it made me kind of fall in love with her, because she is a tremendous actress, especially her early works, which we're going to kind of talk about all of the works. Because I don't know what you guys saw. We had a bunch of different lists, so we're just going to throw out what we did see, kind of some of her style themes and whatnot. But before we do all that, like typical They Said, We Said fashion, I have another special guest with me. I have the Break Side. This is a IPA, Rainbows and Unicorns. I do love me some Break Side, and I do love me some IPA. And Rainbows and Unicorns, that just sounds fantastic. So do you guys have any special guests with you?
I do. I have a 7-7 in this really rad skull glass right here. And I had a beer, but I'm wearing it, so that's not happening.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah.
Becki?
I don't have a special guest.
Oh.
I'm all alone.
You're what?
All alone.
All alone. But can I just mention, in honor of the Star Wars prequels, and I swear to God, we did not plan this, but we're all sporting Star Wars tonight for some reason.
All wearing our Star Wars shirts.
Here we are.
Yay! So yeah, subliminally, is it subconscious? I don't know. Subconscious. I'm not even drinking yet. Subconsciously, Natalie Portman just brings out the prequels in people. So that's a nice color. It's not rainbowy, but it's good. It's delicious. I'll try to keep this in somewhat chronological order, and we'll just kind of go down the list, and I'll ask who's seen it, and if at least one of us has seen it, we could talk about it a little bit. But I think that the first movie, her debut film, and she's around, I think she's about 37 years old. Sorry that I outed your age, but you know, she's around my age, a few years older than I am. But she started pretty young. She started, her first movie came out in 1994. So she, you know, must have been pretty small back then. But goddamn, what a debut performance. And that's Leon, the Professional. I remember seeing this movie as a young child, and it was just absolutely fantastic. What a performance. The movie still holds up to this day. She wasn't the only one that had a great performance in that, and I'm sure we'll talk about that. But yeah, Becki, what did you think about Leon the Professional? Your initial thoughts?
The Professional is in like my top favorite of all time movies, and for many reasons. But as far as Natalie goes, I mean, what you forget that she's a little girl in that, which is a little disturbing. Well, it's a lot disturbing.
Yeah, she has a few of those roles.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I've seen some interviews with her where she's talking, especially now with the Me Too movement and the Women's March and all the things that are going on, how she sort of talks about, and having worked with Harvey Weinstein, she talks about that being an uncomfortable situation for her, and how she kind of had to push through weird fan mail and everything from men that were sending. So there's this weird feeling I had feels about her in this film, because it's amazing. She did a beautiful job, but then it sexualized her at a very young age. So that's kind of hard to sink my teeth into. But it's still one of my all-time favorite films of all time. And another reason for that is also Gary Oldman, because Gary Oldman is the shit. So
yeah, Deb, what's your experience with Leon the Professional?
I agree with everything Becki just said. It was a great movie. For as young as she was, she did an amazing job. That movie had me in tears. I mean, I was a mess when I watched that movie. She was young in that role, and I don't like the sexualization part, as Becki brought up. But other than that, I think it was an amazing movie. And because of Gary Oldman, who can do no wrong in my eyes. But she was amazing. I mean, she was so young. I don't know how old she was exactly. You know how old she was?
I mean, it was 94, so she's 37 now, so math, but
oh, no math.
Around that time, you know, probably around 10, 12, I would assume. And she just acted way more mature than her actual age. I mean, and she would get a couple of these roles, and we'll talk about a few of them. But even in something like Beautiful Girls, where she even mentions, she's like, yeah, I'm 12 years old, but I'm an old soul. And you could definitely see that she had this crazy magnetism about her in that film, where you just could not take your eyes off her. And yes, it was in kind of a weird, creepy, sexual way. But I mean, not as much as I guess another film that we'll talk about, but it was more than that. It was just like her style and her performance. And it was just so like blaring that she had those kind of acting chops, especially at that age, and especially for that being her debut film. But Becki, you said Gary Oldman. Let's talk about Gary Oldman, because as much as this film is about Natalie Portman, he stills every scene he's in as well.
Absolutely. I mean, his character is intense anyway, but I just forget that he's scripted when I watch this film. I mean, I just feel like they just let him go to town.
Is he though? They might have just handed him like a mound of coke and just said, "Go for it."
That's how it plays out. Absolutely. I mean, he's sweaty and uncomfortable to watch, but it's captivating, no less than captivating, for sure.
Yeah, let's go. Can you take us, or like for anyone that hasn't seen the movie, and you know, we don't have to do like crazy spoilers about it, because if you haven't seen Leon the Professional, just go see this film, because like Becki said, it's like in the top at least 20 of all-time films, at least for me, maybe higher up for some people. But what's Leon the Professional about?
It's about a hitman. It's about a hitman who gets somehow involved with a little girl who has lost her family to, was it the DEA or is it I can't remember.
It's all crooked cops and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So her family, essentially. Her family they weren't great anyway, right? Her
family, she had a shitty family. Family sucked.
They were killed by the crooked cop, and then Leon she sort of adopts Leon. It's not even like he seeks her out. She's kind of alone, and he kind of takes her in.
At first, he's not really into it at all, and then then he finally does get into it, and they have this great magnetic performance together, and they have such great chemistry together, and it ends up being really good, and he ends up being a big kind of softie in the end. But I won't give the ending away because I won't do that.
And it's a pretty amazing feat to pull that kind of performance out of Gene Reno, because he hasn't had good chemistry on anything probably since then. He's not really, he's kind of like a real poor man's like cheap version of Benicio del Toro, where he's been in kind of some stuff, but he's never he never sticks out. And he is kind of top billed on this film, and it's not, I think his performance alone doesn't really, it gets overshadowed quite a bit, especially by Natalie Portman and Gary Oldman. But like you guys have said, the chemistry between them is what kind of elevates this movie also.
Right. And I also feel like I can't imagine anybody else in that role.
Sure.
I think that role was ideal for him at the time. And he does a stunning, it does a great job as well. The film itself is stunning overall, I feel. And I can't imagine anyone playing Leon aside from him now that I've seen it, obviously. So.
Sure. Deb?
No, I agree with everything she said. I can't imagine anyone else in any of those roles other than them now that I've seen it. And I haven't seen it in years. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm probably due to watch it again. But I do remember it very clearly, and I remember it being just amazing. And I remember not really knowing, because she wasn't a big name then, and no one really knew who she was. And it was like a great breakout performance for her. It was, what a way to start her career.
Yeah, it was like after that performance, everyone absolutely knew who this little girl was. And I know like Hollywood was trying to cast her in a bunch of things, and there was conflicting things. So I think she was still, or like her family made her really focus on school. So I think she turned down a couple projects because really this came out in 94. So they were probably working on it in 93. You got to think. And then she had her next movies she had two movies in 95. One of which was Heat, and she didn't have like the biggest role in it. So I know that she was kind of, that performance, I want to say it garnered her Academy Award nominations already. Is that right?
For which one?
For Leon the Professional?
Did it?
No.
Let me see.
Oh, I think so.
Okay.
She was nominated for 3, and she's won 1.
Okay. But yeah, I know that I remember at the time she did blow up because of the role, but she couldn't take him because but yeah, Leon the Professional, probably my favorite Natalie Portman performances of that era, because I think she's kind of morphed into a kind of a different actress nowadays than what she was then. But she definitely had this crazy charisma and edge to her as a child, which is just like absolutely incredible if you think about, her peers at the time. The next movie came out was Developing. I never saw it. You guys?
Nope, not me.
Heat was the one after that. Again, kind of small role, but
I saw Heat, but I don't remember her role in Heat.
Right. Yeah. But the next one, the one after that, is Beautiful Girls, which I don't know did you guys watch?
I watched Beautiful Girls many years ago, but I don't remember anything about it. So it's all you.
Okay, Deb?
I didn't see it at all, so it's all you.
Freaking A. Beautiful Girls is, it was interesting. Yeah, because I remember watching it like a decade ago or like 12 years ago or something. This movie came out in 96. And it was just like, oh, that's like a fun little rom-com. But now watching it today with like adult glasses and dad glasses on, this is one of the most rapey films I've ever seen. And it was super horrible and super creepy to watch. So the premise of Beautiful Girls, if you don't know, it's all about this guy, Will, that kind of goes off. It's all like small town. It's very Roseanne-ish, but this particular gentleman went off to New York or wherever, Chicago maybe, to go live out his dream to be a famous pianist. And I guess, he's having this kind of like early midlife crisis, like this group of friends. One of them is Matt Dillon, who was like the high school football star, and you have all these things, and Matt Dillon and Michael Rappaport, who is amazing in this, by the way. I love Michael Rappaport so much. He's the same thing in everything, so you know exactly what you're getting from him. And he does not disappoint in this film. He is absolutely Michael Rappaport. They own their little snow plowing business, and Lauren Holly's in this film, and Mira Sorvino. It's like movie.90s.com. It's crazy. It's like everybody that you liked in the 90s is in this film. But this guy comes back. He's like living with his dad and his brother because he's just trying to figure things out. And his little brother is a really young David Arquette, and he's just like super weird and Arquette-y in this, which is kind of fun. But his next door neighbor is this girl named Marty, and Marty is Natalie Portman, and she's 12 years old. And they wind up forming, Will, the main character, and Marty wind up forming this friendship. But it starts turning into something else. And he even goes to the point where he's like drinking at a bar and confessing his love for this child. And all his friends are like, that's super weird and wrong. You probably shouldn't be feeling this way. And he's like, oh no, I'll even wait for her, and she could, I just want her to take me with her. Because, she's this like kind of, and she even says in the film, she's 12, but she's an old soul. And he even it even gets to the point where he's jealous when he sees her talking to some kid, her own age. It was like, like I said, when I saw it a long time ago, it seemed like it's just a nice little rom-com, and it's all these things. But then even like Uma Thurman's in it, and then like the same guy that's in love with the little kid takes Uma Thurman to like this ice fishing house in the middle of nowhere, and he starts making these really like awkward sexual advances. This is the same director that did Blow and then died of a cocaine overdose. So I mean, this movie is a damn mess. It's fun. It's great. It has some really good lines, especially from Michael Rappaport, but it was just so damn uncomfortable to watch. So is anyone else really amped about watching Beautiful Girls now after that?
I watched it now. I've heard you say that. I have to see it. I have to watch that now.
Becky, do you remember how creepy that movie is?
I don't remember. I don't remember any, like I said, I don't remember anything about it. My brain erased it. Maybe that's why. Maybe I was traumatized and my brain now has like selective memory.
Oh man, it was just so bizarre. And it's just so like, especially like nowadays, like you said, with the whole Me Too thing and everything, watching that, it just felt like it was from a different era, like a different planet completely. Cause like, yeah, this would never fly. And there's probably a reason why you never see Beautiful Girls airing on like, HBO or like TNT or something, because it's just like so blaringly weird. It was just a bizarre watch. I mean, it's a competent like feel good rom-com for the time, and it's got really snappy dialogue, and it's actually really funny. There's a lot of dick and fart jokes, but they don't kind of hold back on the adult humor, so that kind of works. But it just is you just kind of want to take a shower after watching it. But all right, so that's that. Everyone Says I Love You. I didn't see it. It's a Woody Allen film.
That's why. Woody Allen's creepy as hell. I mean, oh my God, that explains everything.
Speaking of creepy, yeah. Mars Attacks is next. Becky, here's your chance to talk about a Tim Burton film.
Oh, yay! Mars Attacks is actually, I love Mars Attacks. It's one of the more fun, different. I think it's a totally different pace for Burton a little bit. Like it's a little more in your face. It's not that like subtle, sweeping, artistic, stylized film. This is a little more of a different film. Natalie Portman it's an ensemble cast, so she doesn't stand out when I think of Mars Attacks. I think of Lisa Marie and her crazy wig floating through the White House, wherever it was, and that's the kind of thing I think about when I think of Mars Attacks. But
I don't even remember. I didn't rewatch it. I've seen Mars Attacks a million times, but I didn't rewatch it for this. I don't even remember what she is in that. Is she like the daughter or something?
She's with the other kid. I can't remember the other kid, the other boy kid that's in that movie that they all live and whatever. And wait, she's the president's daughter.
Yeah.
That's right. She's Jack Nicholson's daughter, right?
Yeah, she's the president's daughter, and she's one of the people that obviously lives. She's she's cute and she's smart, and she's Natalie Portman. I don't know.
Dr. Efren from the chat says, act.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not. I don't think it was a remarkable role for her. It's like I said, it's an ensemble cast, so there's a lot of heavyweights in that movie. Jack Nicholson, and so she's not who sticks out to me.
Yeah.
You know what stands out to me is what's her face from Sex and the City's head on that Chihuahua.
Sarah just horse face. Yeah.
Horse face on the Chihuahua. That's what I remember more than anything.
Nice. Debbie, also not from this era. It's awesome. What? Oh, usually it's so the horse face thing is
right.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right. Yeah, Mars Attacks, not one of Burton's best films in my opinion. It's not as rewatchable as some of his other films, because I remember I think I went to the theater with you back when we saw it right when it came out, and I think we liked it quite a bit, and then I rewatched it for the Tim Burton thing, and I was just like, this is not as good, and it does not hold up as much as kind of some other good Burton films to me.
But it was fun. It was still fun.
Yeah.
It was a fun movie.
But like I said, it doesn't have that like grandness to it, that the way that the Tim Burton usually does, I think.
It has no heart. This movie, it's fun, and it's like super violent and stuff, but it doesn't have that heart to it.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, and now guess what's next, ladies and gentlemen, or lady? Well, I'm the gentleman. Ladies, guess what's next on the the timeline?
Is it Her Highness?
Not yet, but I can't wait for that.
It's prequels.
It's prequel time.
Of course.
Prequel time. Let's just bang them all three out at the same time, so we don't have to keep jumping back. And I just want to tell you guys that I just hate sand because it's coarse. It gets in everything. Oh God, I don't know. Should we not talk about the prequels? I don't know.
I think we have
to. Okay, look, it's in the prequels. Done. Go on. There you go.
Go on, Deb. You have something to say about them.
No, she was. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of the more recent Star Wars movies, but I did enjoy. The one I hated was the one that had Jar Jar Binks, but that doesn't matter because
he's in all three.
I still like Natalie Portman because she's great, and she did a great job as Princess Amidala, and I liked her a lot in that role. And it's been years since I've seen it. I saw it in the theater when it came out, all of them in the theater when they came out. I think she was great for the role, and she did a great job. And I wish I could remember more because it's been years, and I'm old, and I forget things.
Any defense for Natalie Portman in the prequels, Becki?
I got no beef with Natalie Portman in the prequels. I mean, she's definitely not the worst thing, and we got to give it to her because she had to like act opposite of Hayden Christensen. So I mean, if you have you deserve some sort of accolades for that sort of thing, for that feat, because that must be painful for her considering the chops that girl has and the chops that he doesn't have.
Talk about weird and rapey. Those especially in the second film. Woo!
Yeah. So anyway, I got no beef. I don't. Here's the thing. I don't really have feels about the prequels one way or another. I mean, they're there. We can't erase them. We can't erase them from our minds, and they just are. And I've made peace with it all, and she's fine in it. I don't have any. I don't think it's like. I don't think she's like over the top remarkable, but I don't think anybody really was. And whatever.
You see, and I'll go toe to toe with you a little bit on that because I think Ewan McGregor did the best he could. I thought he was really, really trying. I think that she kind of was sometimes, but I think that she took a lot of lines off. I'm going to go after her a little bit because I thought that her performance was, yes, and I get it. She was acting next to a cardboard cutout, basically, because he was just the worst. But she just, like, I don't know, like, and it seemed like she got worse as the movies progressed. Like in the first one, she was still but that's like prime Natalie Portman. You know, she just did fucking Leon, The Professional, and she just did Beautiful Girls, which, you know, that's a weird, creepy ass movie, but that was some of her best work. Like her performance in Beautiful Girls, it just like way outshines all the other like 90s schlock actors that were in that film. Like she was incredible in that movie, even though it was a weird movie. But you know, her in the prequels was so damn like uninteresting. Like she was taking like, I don't know, she looked unhappy to be there, and I know she's kind of had fun with it, you know, afterwards, and she's done the fun parodies and stuff with SNL, but I don't know. Maybe she was just too good, and then Lucas told her to turn it down because he hates all of us. I don't know what the story is, but I thought she was terrible. I thought she was absolutely god awful in the prequels, even though she did have to just act against someone just looking at her weird and her telling him how uncomfortable she was the whole time. Fuck, they didn't take a hit.
Very monotone, and her being very like, just kind of, she was there, but she kind of was there because she signed a contract. And has what's his face said anything since Star Wars? With
that movie Jumper, that horrible movie that nobody remembers.
I didn't even see that. I didn't bother with that.
Was he in that? I thought that was someone else.
I thought it was Hayden Christensen for some reason. Oh, he's in that other movie with other people in it.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like when I don't know, when I'm editing YouTube videos, and it's like you put in like little snippets of video, and then it's like Hayden Christensen is all they did was just like insert images, and it's just like him with dead face, creeper dead face, and like dialogue as ADR. It was just it. Oh, the prequels. I mean, now it's like Real Actors is like the mini, Star Wars prequel series. So I guess next week we'll be talking about Liam Neeson because he has a very particular set of skills. But actually, I don't think we are. Oh God, yeah. I don't know. I thought she was terrible. I thought everything was terrible. But again, I will beat my drum and say that they need to at least include the prequels a little bit into the new Star Wars universe. We can't get into that again.
A whole other show.
Oh, it's a whole other show.
Prequels. Jonathan's on he's got a whole other show going. It's like a whole
other show.
If you need to take a sip of your beer, dear, you're all right. You're all right. Bring it home.
It's just awful. All right. Anywhere But Here. That's 3 movies in like 15 minutes. You're welcome. Anywhere But Here. I didn't see it.
I didn't see it.
Becki?
Oh, didn't see it.
Pass. Where the Heart Is.
Next.
Fair enough. Then we got to Zoolander.
I saw Zoolander. I don't remember her being in Zoolander.
She plays herself.
Maybe that's why I remember. It's been so long. Beck, do you remember?
Bit. I don't remember her in that movie either. I try not to remember anything about that movie, to be honest.
Oh,
yeah.
That's one of the that's a hole in my game. I've never seen Zoolander. Everyone swears how funny it is. I've never seen it.
It has moments, but it's not the best.
Let's go. Let's skip ahead. Let's go to Garden State, 2004. Directed by Zach Braff. You know what? Rewatching Garden State, and I said this on Twitter today, really made me miss Zach Braff. I want to see Zach Braff in more stuff now.
Horrible. I think he's a little cutie pie.
Yeah, he's not. He is.
Scrubs was funny. I wasn't super into Scrubs, but it was like he was funny. I thought he was cute and funny, and it was good.
I liked it. I thought it was different, and I liked Zach Braff. I liked him in that. He was very. I don't think he smiled like twice in the whole movie, but it was good, and she was good for him in that movie. But it was your typical kind of like, well, a little more than typical rom-com, and it was kind of like cheese, like tofu-y.
Kind of like cheese. I love it.
It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible.
I think Garden State is like it's like you said, it's kind of like run-of-the-mill rom-com kind of thing, but it's a little more poignant, and it obviously has a big heart, and it has that sort of hipster indie kid vibe. You know, the music in it is good, and that to me is always attractive. And I thought, I don't know, I think it's cute. And her role was cute. She was cute in it, but I got nothing more than that, really. Cute.
Man, it must have just been, I don't know, because I it pandered to me completely. I love Garden State. I think Garden State is so underrated. I love the hell out of it. But I love those little hipster indie things get me every time. You know, like Adventureland. Like, who likes Adventureland? Nobody smart, but I love Adventureland with Jesse Eisenberg or Michael Cera, whatever, the same person. I love those. I love those type of films. I loved Garden State. I thought her role was great. I felt like this was exactly the breath of fresh air that she needed to get back on the Natalie Portman track from coming off the prequels, because she got a lot of shit. Everyone got a lot of shit for the prequels, except Ewan McGregor. Ewan McGregor could do no wrong. Everyone loved Ewan McGregor, even in the prequels. But I feel like she got hell. She got a lot of hell for the prequels. And just everyone was kind of worried about her in general. And I think this was before episode 3 came out, so she was still kind of in it, and I'd had to double check that, but so, you know, she still had one of them coming after Garden State, but I thought Garden State was fantastic. It was like a non-creepy version of Beautiful Girls, where it's all about the guy that tries and comes back to his hometown, and all your buddies are doing the same old thing. Reminds me of that Less Than Jake song, like the Same Old Town or whatever it is. It just those type of movies, like, I am the worst person in the world to say goodbye. Like, I do better with like deaths, which is really strange. This is turned into a John therapy session, but like when I have to say goodbye to someone, I don't know, it tears me apart. So like that's when I always got excited, like when friends that would go somewhere, like would move away to go to college or something, they come back into town. It was like, you know, you get that feeling when you're hanging out with that person. It's like overhyped and it's like ultra realistic, where you're like, you know, a couple years ago or a couple months ago, this person, you know, I hung out with this person all the time. I didn't care about that type of thing. And then when someone leaves and comes back, you almost have to try to fit in everything for that lost time. And that was Garden State to me. And it just captured that and encapsulated that moment and that feeling for me perfectly. And that's why I think I love this film. And I thought she was great
on that. I totally agree with you. And I don't like the goodbyes either. I can handle deaths better than I can handle goodbyes. And I think that movie kind of started typecasting her as that role, as that little romantic interest and that little demure, kind of run-of-the-mill wife material. I don't know, wife material. It just began her typecasting, because a lot of movies after that, she plays the same person over and over again.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
One or two, maybe.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, technically, if we're speaking, I mean, all movie experiences are relative. They're all subjective. And whatever it is that we find that we connect to in a plot or with an actor, I mean, that's how we interpret personally a film. And I think it's sort of, I think Garden State is touching, and I think it's even more touching to hear how sort of, and here's the big sister therapy session to go along with.
Here we go. They always kind of go back to this kind of stuff. Family time, brought to you by Breakside Beer, the Rainbow Unicorn.
There you go. But I think it's sweet to hear that, you know, he relates to the goodbyes. I definitely am not a goodbye person. I hate it. I am a hot mess. I don't enjoy goodbyes, and you're right. I think death is obviously, it's more definite. It's more definitive. So you're like, that person's gone. I know how to deal with that. But saying goodbye to someone that's still on the planet that you still enjoy being with or care about, and then knowing that you're not going to see them again, that's all horrible. And that movie is definitely a relatable element to that film that I think that I totally agree with you, Jonathan.
Yeah, and I did double check. I think, episode 3 did come out in 2005, so a year after Star Wars. Oh, but a movie between that, Garden. This is a nice segue. So between Garden State and Episode 3, which we've already talked about the prequel, so we won't again, is Closer. This is a personal favorite of yours, right, Beck?
What is it again? Closer. Oh, yes. Closer is definitely one of my. It's actually one of my top favorite films. Also, Closer is the reason why I went to England. I pretty much went to London to all the places they shot Closer because I had that film in mind. Just because it made me. I've always loved. You guys know British culture and everything. But going to London, I kind of was like, I want to go to all the places that I could possibly go that Closer was shot, just because I felt that it just made me fall in love with the city of London. And being there in the aquarium and on the riverside and everything where they shot the film was really, really neat. It was a really cool experience for me. And this movie, there are no good people in this movie.
No.
Like everybody is an asshole. Like, but there's this complexity about like being able to do whatever you like, just doing whatever you want, being compulsive and acting on your feelings all the time, and the consequences of that, and the people you hurt, and the hurt that you cause yourself. And Natalie Portman's performance in this is amazing. I think she's probably the least assy person of the movie, like her character. Watching the complexity, obviously, of her character, you know, she goes from this kind of like tattered, damaged girl to this sort of girl in love, and she's sort of softer after she establishes a relationship with Jude Law. And then but that stripping scene with Clive Owen, holy shit. Like, if that didn't, like, I'm I'm all about lesbians and gay people. I love them. I love all my gays. But that, and I'm straight, but that scene made me question everything, because it's stripping, but she's stripping to the Smiths. Can we just address
that's kind of awesome.
Yeah.
And Clive Owen is fucking hot. I'm sorry, everybody. I'm having a moment here, but I loved her in it. I wanted to punch Jude Law in the face for being a pussy in that movie, and I hate Julia Roberts' character. I fucking hate Julia Roberts. I'm gonna swear a lot right now because this is how all the feels coming out now.
Do it.
Yeah. And but Natalie Portman, a doll, and I love Clive Owen. I love the honesty and like the in-your-face nature of his character, and he's awful but also awesome. I don't know how that works, but he's just as assy as they all are, but in I don't know, in a way I can almost feel where he's coming from, even though he's
just more brash about it, where Jude Law is more like like he's trying to be classy. He's just like, oh, my shit doesn't stink, but he really is like the biggest piece of shit. But Clive Owen just lets you know he's a big piece of shit, and he lets everyone else know.
Right. I don't know. I love this movie. I think it's sexy. I think it's dark. I think it is all of the things.
Deb, how'd you like Closer?
I just had back surgery, so I was on some pain pills when I watched it. So I nodded in and out of the movie. I liked what I saw. I did see the stripping scene, and that I did question my sexuality at that point a little bit too. But, yeah, and the Jude Law or Clive Owen was an ass. Julia Roberts was an ass. I think Natalie Portman was the least amount of ass in that.
Well, she was the most amount of ass.
Well, yeah, but she was like not as big of an asshole as everybody else was. But I didn't see the ending because I had passed out by then from the pain pills from the back thing. So I need to watch it again to really get the whole movie.
It's such a wonderful to it. You definitely need to watch the ending because the ending is great.
I missed the ending.
That just negated my next point, so I can't say what I was gonna say because yeah. I
don't care. You can say it.
No. Well, I'm just gonna say that just the fact that it kind of like the character of Alice is how do I say this, is kind of like portrayed like Becky said, she's the least asshole-ish of these four main characters, of your four POV characters. But then it kind of goes full circle and it kind of becomes about her, which is really cool. And Yes, I mean the stripper scene, because it's super sexy and it's just like, oh my god, it's amazing. And I think this is the first time where, you know, she was still doing the prequels, because like I said, the next year is when they kind of wrapped up with the Star Wars prequels with Revenge of the Sith. So this was ballsy to come out and do a performance like this. Knowing kind of what kind of franchise, you know, you're mixed up with. Yes, it wasn't Disney technically at the point, but still Star Wars is such hallowed ground, and to be able to come out with a movie like this for her is just very ballsy. You know, the only thing I could think to say. But it's such a sexy scene, but it's such a, like, not because she's just naked, she's just super confident. She owns that scene so much. It's so reminiscent to her earlier work, you know, and this sounds like a creepy thing to say, but when she Natalie Portman can do subtle, sensual better than most any other actress on the face of the planet. You know, where it's just like someone more obvious, like a Scarlett Johansson, could just be on screen and just like wear a tight shirt and everyone's like, oh my god, you know. But it's just like Natalie Portman's more sexy with her words and her confidence in some of these roles, which is just so awesome. Because at this point in the film, Clive Owen is just being like a rabid dog. He just, you know, I like where he's coming from this, because he's trying to make her confess something. And I'm trying to skate around like major details and stuff, but you know, he's trying to make her confess who she is and like how he knows her type thing. But she just like he doesn't have a prayer. He doesn't have a chance, because she is so in control of that with everything, and it's just such a cool scene and such a great role. Absolutely one of my favorite Natalie Portman roles. When I think of like my top, you know, movies of all time, Closer doesn't come up in the discussion. But as far as Natalie Portman performance, I think this is at least top 4 for her.
Wow. I will definitely have to rewatch that when I'm more cognizant of things in general, because I wasn't. So, but I did like what I saw. I just need to rewatch it.
Well, it's interesting. The film is an adaptation of a play.
Yeah.
And so I've never actually seen the play, which I would love to see the play, but I think it's interesting always when they take stage, and I think that I'm assuming, I mean, the film is shot beautifully, and I'm assuming the adaptation is done well. But there's 4 heavy hitter actors in this movie, but she does shine among the 4 for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just trying to pull back up the list. And this was by Mike Nichols, who has also passed away, like Ted Demme from that did Beautiful Girls. But yeah, just awesome. I think we'll skip the Free Zone. I don't think anyone watched the Free Zone. I don't even know what the hell that is. And we get to jump into V for Vendetta. This is a heavy favorite. Okay, so this is where I'm going to mention the Twitter poll, because I always do a Twitter poll for one of these. And let me pull it up real quick. So this was the most interesting, highly contested, razor close Twitter poll races, voting polls that I've done since I've been doing Twitter polls. And what do you guys think won? So my question was, what's your favorite? This is key. What's your favorite Natalie Portman film?
Personally, I love V for Vendetta. I think it's great. I think she's amazing in that.
But what do you think won the Twitter poll?
Oh, the Star Wars. One of the Star Wars peoples.
Becky?
Black Swan one.
Okay, so it was only I did a real short one, and we got 50 votes on it, and actually it was the very first tie. I've never had a tie on one of these. Black Swan got 26%, and Other got 26%, and I think the Other, you know, to kind of segue into the film that we're talking about now, was heavily influenced by V for Vendetta. Yeah, we got a lot of Garden States in there, but V for Vendetta definitely got a lot of comments, because, you know, you're only allowed to put 4 films or 4 choices on these polls. So I put The Professional because I knew that would be safe, Black Swan, SW prequels because you have to, and then Other. And I got a lot of V for Vendettas in the Other. The prequels lost, but the prequels did get 24%, so right outside those winners at 26%. The prequels and the professional were tied at 24%. So with that said, first off, I'm glad that Star Wars didn't win again, like it did for Ewan McGregor. But let's talk about V for Vendetta. What a role.
That was such a physically challenging role for her to play. I mean, it put her through so much, it seems like. Emotionally, physically, the whole story is amazing. And I mean, she portrayed the emotion behind that character so perfectly. I love her in that role. That's gotta be my top 2 or 3 favorite roles of hers is V for Vendetta. Actually, I love that movie anyway, but she really worked her ass off in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, V for Vendetta is amazing. Oh, I'm coming apart. Sorry, everybody. Amazing. It is. I love everything about this film. I love. The only thing I got beef with her is she does the worst British accent ever.
Kind of does.
Worst English accent ever. Like, why do they keep making her do that?
No, wait, she does not. No, Keanu Reeves does the British accent ever.
When does he attempt a British accent?
Dracula. Remember Dracula?
Oh, God.
Accent. I kept waiting for him to go dude somewhere at the end of it.
Whoa.
He wins for the worst British accent.
She is not good with accents. Let's just put that out there. Aside from that, oh my God, this film gives me so many feels. Like crying, I cry every time I watch it. It's so intense, and then I fall in love with him every single time, and I'm like, this is such a.
Can we get more Hugo Weaving these days, please?
Everything. I mean, I've been a fan since Priscilla. I think I used to make you watch Priscilla, Queen of the Desert with me all the time.
Wait, is that who played V?
Yeah.
Why did I not know that? How did I not know that?
Hugo Weaving is one of those magical people. Like,
yeah, it is.
It's just magic. Like,
Hugo Weaving's the only dude that could be like, I didn't like the MCU, so I'm not coming back. It's like, yeah, because you're fucking Hugo Weaving. You have that kind of power in your life. Like,
he's magical.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, rock that.
I'm just saying his dialogue in this film is immaculate. And I liked her journey. Yes, the accent is pretty bad, but after the first 15 minutes, it just kind of melds into everything else. It wasn't as bad where it like took me out of it, where I'm just like, you're just doing a thing and I don't like it. Like they made it to where she was just like talking normally. So the accent would cut in and out sometimes. So the movie was so engrossing and it's so exciting. It's such an exciting film. And just visually, it's just, it just runs at a breakneck pace where you forgive some of those little things like her accent. And, you know, it starts out small for her. Her performance in V for Vendetta takes a while to get going. It's like driving an old 1960s car. It's like takes a couple times to get it going, but once it goes, it purrs perfectly. And I think that's kind of how her performance in V for Vendetta was, because it's like, you know, at first she's just kind of, she is throughout the entire thing, she's a victim, but she becomes, it's different stages of how strong the victim she becomes. Seeing John Hurt in this was heartbreaking, but he does a great job of just like red face screaming the whole time. But I think especially, you know, what he puts her through with the whole torture, actually shaving her head, you know, dunking her in water, and then just that scene when she walks out and realizes that that's all a farce and that was all to essentially free her from herself. I mean, her reaction to that is, you know, Academy clickbait right there. I thought she just did a perfect job.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think that she was amazing.
Sorry, I was drinking. Any closing thoughts, Deb?
No, she was, and that was I think it was a very demanding role for any actress to play. She went full circle from kind of, I mean, she didn't agree with what was going on in that world anyway, but she went from being this little demure kind of, like background, kind of didn't do anything too wrong person, to being like this force to be reckoned with in the end, where she was like, they're like, don't pull that switch. And she's like, I'm pulling that switch. And then, but then I have to say, it looked like a whole meeting of Anonymous came in with all their Guy Fawkes masks. I don't know if everyone gets that joke or not.
Yeah.
But that was kind of funny. Yeah, well, or not fun, kind of fun. But yeah, you cry in that, you laugh in that. The dialogue is great. That's one of my favorite movies. It's one of my favorite movies.
It's very, especially. Do you guys watch Mr. Robot? Because now I can't not think of Mr. Robot when I was rewatching V for Vendetta now. But and Mr. Robot's fantastic. But yeah, it's just one of those roles. Like I said, where it's just kind of a slow burn for her, because that's the kind of like thing that stands out, right? That's the dichotomy, because everyone is like overdoing it in that movie, but in the best possible way. Everyone's chewing up the scenery except her until it gets to kind of the end, because like I said, and it stays away from that traditional mentor trope where it's, I halfway, and this is a comic book adaptation, but I was more than half expecting the training montage of V making her a badass ninja or something like that. And it's like, no, it was none of that. The training was all mental and just for her to grow. And I love that. I love that V for Vendetta broke so many molds as far as your stereotypical kind of comic book movie or any kind of, those kind of movies, that kind of mentorship movie. And I just love everything about it. It's hard to find a flaw in V because it's just so much fun.
More than mentorship, she fell in love with him. I mean,
love story there.
Yeah.
And the love story where he knows who he is. He knows he can't really have her, and he knows that she's going to hate him in this process at some point, and then she comes full circle, and then that's why it's heartbreaking. And the sacrifice he makes is not only for his beliefs, but eventually you realize that he makes the sacrifice for her, and so she can go on and be this new person and make the changes and carry on his legacy. But it's just absolutely beautiful. I love this movie.
Yep. All right, and just skipping kind of down the row a little bit. The other Boleyn girl, I just want to mention it. I haven't seen it. That's one of the ones that I've been really trying to see. I just ran out of time. And Chris from Legendary Mana, that's I think still in the chat, that was his favorite Natalie Portman film. And I'm definitely trying to get in it because I kind of like the wife and I kind of have an obsession with everything like King Henry and the Boleyn and like Anne Boleyn and stuff like that. So I'm really surprised that we haven't seen the other Boleyn girl, and I think she stars opposite ScarJo in that. So I was saying before, it's on my radar. I just didn't get to it. Did you, sisters? Did you see other Boleyn girl?
I've been meaning to see it, but I have not seen it yet.
That is one I didn't see. However, I do have interesting trivia for you. If you are in London, when I went to London, the actual chopping block where Anne Boleyn lost her head is there, and it's the exhibit. I got to see that, which I don't know how I feel about that, but it's
kind of cool, actually. I mean, it's cool, but it's not cool. But yeah,
that's awesome.
It's awesome.
It's its own experience, and it is not a happy history that place, but it is a lot of, I did get to see her chopping block. Yay!
Well, he was just such a fucking tyrant. He was just the worst.
Yeah.
He was a total asshole. He was that stereotypical, go home drunk and beat your wife.
Nasty, gross man.
Yeah.
Power.
He started Church of England because the Catholic Church wouldn't let him keep killing and divorcing wives.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's why he wanted a divorce, so he started his own church. Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So, and it's just crazy to think that Queen Elizabeth came from him, right? Like, 'cause she was like the complete opposite. What a dichotomy. She turned out to be this amazing Renaissance, like cool kick-ass chick, and her father was just such a misogynistic asshole.
Well, look at us. We came out we're the opposite of our parents, aren't we? That's how it works.
You always get a little look behind the curtain on the brother sister, dynamic here on Real Actors.
Yeah. Guys, we're all working our shit out right now.
That's right. But hey, it's getting the viewers, so the people like seeing it. Keep talking about how the sausage is made.
Yeah.
Ew. I don't know if I like that.
It's an expression. Calm down. Brothers. Let's talk about Brothers. Deb, why don't you kick us off with Brothers?
I started Brothers, and I got about a third of the way through, and I kind of stopped watching Brothers. It didn't do much for me. Her role was so, again, I'm going to go with tofu and cheese. Her role was so just like housewifey, and I don't know. I didn't like it.
But that's what she was kind of supposed to be in it.
Right, but I don't know. Maybe I didn't get far enough in the movie to like really form a really great opinion on it or not. It didn't appeal to me.
Beck?
I did watch it, and I watched it begrudgingly because I hate Tobey Maguire.
Thank you. Me too.
I can't stand him. I can't stand his Spider-Man movies. I don't know.
Oh, come on. That's harsh.
Yeah, can't deal with him. But I watched it anyway, and I had to start with this, and let me tell you why. I thought that he did a great job in this movie. I thought he was actually his performance in this film. I know we're not talking about him specifically today, but I have to mention that coming from a standpoint where I want to vomit every time I see his face, and then seeing this movie, I was actually really impressed with his performance. I thought it's an intense performance for him. And Natalie Portman, she's all right in it. She does fine. She does fine. I like myself some Jake Gyllenhaal. I like the Gyllenhaals, both of them. Maggie
Jake Gyllenhaal, I do enjoy him too. Very much.
And Maggie, they're both awesome. And he did fine. This movie it didn't speak to me. I liked it. I thought it was well acted and it was okay. I wasn't like, woo, brothers. But it was okay.
Yeah.
She did her job. I mean, that was that she did what the role required her to do. It was all supposed to be about Tobey Maguire and Jake Gyllenhaal. I thought she did kind of, wife in the middle type thing. But I think she did that above average. It definitely won't go down as one of her more memorable roles of all time. But I think that the film's a little underrated because it seems like premise wise that you just see it like a straight to Netflix or like on a Blockbuster shelf with no big theatrical release. But I think it was a little bit smarter than that. So I'm going to give it a little bit more credit than just, studio says we have to make this kind of movie this year. Let's make this. And Jake Gyllenhaal is great. I think Tobey Maguire, I'm not a big Tobey Maguire apologist, but I think, I don't know. I don't hate on him as much as you guys do. I think, Spider-Man 1 and 2, I think he did a great job. And it wasn't his fault that Sam Raimi just took a lot of Quaalude for Spider-Man 3 and put Topher Grace's Venom. Why is that his fault? But I don't know. I thought it's a good film, not a great film.
Right, and I agree. And I will say in her defense that I think this role was the first time I really saw her as a woman. I have, because I'm obviously a little older than she is, and I still kind of grew up with her. I mean, I've known her for a long time. I think I more watched her grow through film, and I will say this is the first role I saw her in where I was like, yeah, that's a woman, not a girl. She's kids. Yeah. She's dealing with some stuff, and she's holding the family together, and that I think I saw that in her in this film. I saw a change for sure.
Well, it's a hell of a position to be put into, right? It's like you think your husband's dead, but it's like Castaway, but in the army, where people are just trained to be violent. I don't know. It was everything you guys said. We'll go to Hesher next. No. Another hole in my game. I wanted to see it, didn't get to it.
Nope, didn't see it.
Okay. All right. Oh God. I finally get to talk about Darren Aronofsky films, which I've talked about Requiem quite a bit. But this is, oh God, this movie, Black fucking Swan, just incredible.
Yeah, I cannot believe, especially me, of all people, it's taken me this long to see Black Swan, and I don't even know where to start. The contrast between her Black Swan self and her White Swan self, holy shit! And I think she even like brought her voice up like 3 octaves just to, when she's playing herself. And I have to say that sometimes, and I think I was talking to Debbie about this. When I watch a Natalie Portman movie, this is something I've realized in all the Natalie Portman movies I've just watched within the last week, which is a lot. I never forget that she's Natalie Portman. You know what I mean? Like I'm always watching a Natalie Portman movie.
That's a totally fair point.
It can either be a good thing for her or it could be a bad thing.
It's like a Ewan McGregor kind of, right?
Well, but Ewan can be a little more of a chameleon. I find that Natalie Portman, I haven't seen her in her adult life be that chameleon as much. Do you see what I'm saying? So when I watch a Natalie Portman movie, I'm like, oh, it's Natalie Portman. She doesn't like take me usually. I enjoy her. I have no beef with her, but she's not one of those actors where I'm like, yeah, that's not. I mean, not in her adult life. When she was a kid more. Now I find that is not the case. Now Black Swan proved me wrong. I feel like she took me into this character. Oh my God. And physically her transformation, how this role. And I mean, she really showed that she could be a method actress, I feel. I mean, this was like almost on par, I would say. I mean, not quite as dramatic, but almost on par with Christian Bale.
With the Machinist?
Yeah. And she kind of took me to that place, that sort of self-destructive, like really dark. But to see someone like Natalie Portman, who's usually very squeaky clean in her recent years, see her go to that sort of dark place is like, wow, it just blew me away. Amazing, beautiful film, stunning, intense, and I just loved it. And the horror element of it, of course, was great for me to watch. I loved it.
No, I hadn't seen it until now either. I don't know why I hadn't seen it all these years. But it was the first film I saw her in where she actually, I mean, she blew me away in that role. She wasn't squeaky clean, as you said. She was able to play 2 very complete opposite people. And I will say she was driven there partly by her lovely mother, played by Barbara Hershey, who again reminded me a little bit of our mother, but we won't go there because
why? We've been going there all night.
Already been there. But her mom was like nuts. But to see the transformation she made was amazing, and I think her acting. After I saw her act in that, it's like no one uses her to her potential. Now that we've seen what she can do, why isn't she used that way more?
Because I think it takes a lot out of you, right?
It does. But you would think there'd be more than one movie that it really utilizes who she is as an actress, and that really utilized who she was as an actress.
Because I think, if you're gonna be that type of actor, you have your Daniel Day-Lewis's, and that's why he only did a couple roles every once in a while, and then he had to quit at a pretty young age because it just fucks you up, right?
Yeah.
So I think she was flirting with that with like V for Vendetta, but she didn't go like super meta. It still appeared that she was in a movie. This film, like you said, like you both said, was just completely method. It was just completely taking that jump. This was her Man in the Moon. This was her Jim Carrey Man in the Moon. She just was an absolute basket case. And the horror aspect of this, the real horror of this, is how truthful it is in day-to-day life. Like, there are so many, like professional athletes, or like not even professional. Let's scale that back. High school athletes. Think about, small town, and you're an athlete in small town in Texas, and your whole life is just trying to get out of there and set your family up, and you're a fast running back or a you're 6'3", so you need to learn how to throw a football, something like that. That's what the real, you know, there's actual horror elements in this, especially, you know, Darren Aronofsky is such a showy, and a lot of people say that he's more style than substance, and I don't care. I'll eat that shit for dinner, you know, brunch, every meal. Every Darren Aronofsky film is just oozing with just everything, and I just love it. That style of filmmaking is just what I'm into, and I just love it so much, and I can't wait to do a Darren Aronofsky director's cut. But you know, I'm kind of going off rambling a little bit, but that kind of role took, I think, so much, it pulled so much out of her that she, you know, at that point you just have to make a choice. It's just like, do I continue on this path and really screw with my actual life, like, you know, and like Becki said, like Christian Bale with The Machinist, you know, you never really saw that kind of performance from him again, because there's those actors that go all the way and then they don't come back. Like, look at Jim Carrey. We talked about this on the Jim Carrey Real Actors. I don't think he was ever the same after completely losing himself and becoming Andy Kaufman, almost to a point where everyone that was around Andy Kaufman's just like, even Andy Kaufman wasn't this fucking weird. Like, it's just, you know, you just kind of make that choice when you're that kind of an actor. And I think she wanted to dip her toe in it. No pun intended, because, you know, she pointed that toe perfectly. But I mean, at that point, she just, I think she's like, okay, I just need to kind of go back, scale my life back. I want to have a normal life in real life and just kind of do movies after that.
But at least we know, I mean, she showed us she could do it. I mean, she showed us her full potential and that she could actually do that. And I was blown away by her performance. Absolutely blown away.
Yeah, and this also, to me, Natalie Portman is almost like a modern day Audrey Hepburn. Like, she's the closest thing we'll ever have. Excuse me, to a modern day Audrey Hepburn. And that's kind of how I see her, kind of this gamine. Excuse me. I'm not sneezing. I'm coughing. I'm dying.
Well, because I'm tied either way.
Okay. Okay. And I totally forgot what I was saying because
modern day Audrey Hepburn.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in this film, and she also met her husband on this film. Her husband was the choreographer for Black Swan, and he was the one that was teaching her how to dance and coaching her and all that. And so that's a kind of an interesting bit of trivia.
I didn't know that. I was not aware of that. That's interesting.
Choreographer, and they have 2 kids.
and I mean, I'm gonna steal the mic real quick so Becki could die in peace. But on paper, I think that this would have been like one of the sexiest movies ever, right? You got an explicit sex scene between her and Mila Kunis, who is never bad to look at, and it's horrifying. It's like, oh my god, I should love watching these 2 very attractive, beautiful women be intimate, and I'm not, because it's awful and it's terrible and it's horrifying.
So uncomfortable to watch.
Horrifying. Come on, we know that the real reason that we're doing Natalie Portman today is because every dude that voted likes Natalie Portman.
Wow, way to attack my fan base, Becki.
Bottom corner. No, I love
attack. It's the truth.
Let's be real. Let's come on. Let's break this down. Who wants to talk about Kathy Bates as opposed to Natalie Portman?
With Mila Kunis in a sex scene. So yeah.
Right.
Let's throw this in the chat. Chat, are you actually creepers because of Natalie Portman? Tell me in the chat. No.
Let's hear the answers to that one.
Right. What? No. Everyone's going to turn into Mark Wahlberg.
No, please not Mark. No, not Mark Wahlberg.
Oh my god, I can't wait for that. That's the next collab between me and the guys from Bad Movie Night is The Happening. That shit's happening. All right. Yeah, it's just Darren Aronofsky can do no wrong in my opinion. I've still never seen Mother, but I heard. Did you see it?
I saw Mother. It's gratuitous.
I haven't seen that yet.
It's pretty to look at. I'll tell you that right now. And yeah. I like Jennifer Lawrence. I think she's kind of fun and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm not like, ooh, Jennifer Lawrence, all her movies are amazing. I'm not like that, but I got no beef with Jennifer Lawrence. I do enjoy it, her watching her. She's all right. But that movie, I don't know. I mean, that's a whole other show. Mother.
Yeah.
I got
All right. All right. Well, maybe you could join us with the Darren Aronofsky. All right, moving along. Okay, and I'm only going to bring this up because it's so funny going from a performance like Black Swan. Her next film was No Strings Attached with Ashton Kutcher.
No.
You know what?
I saw it, but no, I was not impressed. It was just like, no.
I look, as far as rom-coms go, and rom-coms are, they're either okay or they're not. And as a woman, as a female, I guess, whatever I am, I I didn't mind No Strings Attached. I didn't hate it. I wasn't like at the end of it like, oh, this is fucking horrible. Ashton Kutcher's he's fine, he's cute and whatever, and she's fine. It's like what my son would say. It's in the middle. My son always says that if he doesn't really like something, but it's not great, he always says, it's in the middle. And that's kind of how I felt about No Strings Attached. I could have taken it or left it either way. It's not the worst movie in the world, but it certainly is not the best.
I'm not a rom-com fan at all. I do not enjoy rom-coms. I'm not into. Romantic comedy does nothing for me. I mean, I'm more of a horror kind of thriller kind of buff, more of a thrill seeker movie watcher. I mean, rom-coms, I can't. They just do nothing for me.
And spoiler alert, you're the Walking Deb, so yeah.
See, there you go. So I mean, rom-coms, I just tank it in.
You know what? I'm pretty up there with my horror and all my terror and all that stuff. I got my horror chops, and that's definitely my go-to genre. But I do love old movies, and I think rom-coms are the closest thing we have to like old sort of. And sometimes I like a nice mindless rom-com. I do. That's my thing. I enjoy.
Mindless for me would be like Her Highness, but that's just me.
We're getting there.
I hope so.
I'm kind of with Becki. I am a rom-com apologist. I actually like rom-coms quite a bit because it does have. I like how you said that, where it's kind of a callback to classic films, because those are all romances, right? So it's just like now it's romance with dick and fart jokes. That's what Judd Apatow came and blew up the entire rom-com, how people make rom-coms at this point. But No Strings Attached was terrible. I mean, okay, so it wasn't terrible, but it's funny because if you think about it, this was around the time where everything had two movies. You had Deep Impact and you had Armageddon, and then with this was a little bit later, but you had No Strings Attached, and then you had the one with her co-lead Mila Kunis in Black Swan. So you had with Justin Timberlake, and that film was way better. So this really was the prequel to Black Swan.
Weird. I didn't.
Okay. Okay.
But like you said, I could have taken it or left it. I like my rom-coms, but I still am particular about them. I can't just. It's not willy-nilly.
To me, a rom-com is like Princess Bride. That's like my deal.
Rom-com, but it is. Yeah. I mean, I love Princess Bride. I mean, that's a staple.
That's just a masterpiece.
Absolutely. That's a whole other show, though. Whole other show.
Now, we could do a whole entire show about Princess Bride. Let's jump ahead to Your Highness. Debbie, you want to kick it off?
Okay. I enjoyed that. I really like that movie. I'm a 15-year-old boy in a grown woman's body. I enjoy dick, fart, and sex jokes more than, as much as the next guy does.
You like dick fart jokes or dick and fart jokes?
Or whatever, however you want to put it. Dick and fart and sex and whatever. Like trashy toilet humor. It's mindless. And if you want to watch a movie and not have to think about it and just watch it for fun and just like not have to think and laugh, I love those kinds of movies. And it was Becki who introduced me to my first one, which was Jade and Silent Bob Strike Back. So how she could say she didn't like that one when she introduced me to that whole genre, because that was the ultimate dick and fart joke movie of ever. And I love that movie. I thought this was funny. I enjoyed it. We got into it online a couple times, how much she hated it and how much I didn't. But I thought, it was fun to see her in a role that was silly and mindless, I guess, and full of really trashy humor. I liked it. It was fun.
Becki, would you care to offer a rebuttal?
My rebuttal is I would love my 2 hours back. And just so I can address this from my sister, the difference between Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back and Your Highness is that Jay and Silent Bob is funny and Your Highness isn't funny. Like they're about this movie. I look. I am not. Dick and fart jokes are fine. I'm not against them. I got no beef with dick and fart jokes, whatever, or trashy humor. But this particular film is not funny. It's just, I mean, all the way down to, I mean, she's fine in it. Let me just address Natalie Portman real quick. Like, she's fine. I kind of like her as a badass. Like, she plays this sort of badass role. And I like, you know, she was able to, they didn't give her a funny role. Her role is not funny. Like, she's not funny in it. Like, that, she's the straight man. That's the whole part of her role. She's the straight man to all this funny that's happening around her. So it's not like she was able to sort of display her comedic timing. It wasn't that sort of role for her. It was still, you know, she's badass and she's running around with a bow and arrow. All right, great. But by the end, when he's wearing the Minotaur dick around his neck, and I was like, this is so, it's not even funny. It's like the joke.
Danny McBride. I love Danny.
And Dave Franco, or no, James. No. Which Franco is this? James Franco.
James Franco. All that was missing was what's his face, the ringleader of all of them. What's his name? The chubby
Seth Rogen.
I remember saying to her, "This is reminds me of like a Seth Rogen film. Where are his guys?" And all of a sudden, I see DeFranco. Oh, there they are. There's one of them, and here we go. But yeah, she was the straight guy. She was the straight guy, and she did a good job as a straight guy. But Danny McBride is one. Well, Danny McBride, again, a whole other show. But I don't know if we could do a whole show on Danny McBride because
please no.
I could because I think he's hilarious. But that's just I have you know, my taste is my taste. But I enjoyed that movie like way more than everybody else.
The only thing I'm going to add to this conversation is he had a Minotaur dick around his neck. I didn't even make it to the end of this film. But I am glad that well, okay, this was like very therapeutic for her because coming off of Black Swan, again, your next 2 films is No Strings Attached and Your Highness. Oh my God. So you could totally see like she was never going to do something like Black Swan ever again because she's just like, I just need some light ass shit. I can't do this anymore. I am not, you know, I'm not Daniel Plainview. You know, I can't, screw him. He could, what's his face? Whatever his face, Daniel Day-Lewis. You got it, right? You won all the awards. You want to be in a movie. Here's your award. You got this. I tried. I didn't like it. You know, it fucked Jim Carrey up. So now we're doing Your Highness, which is just more, you know, gratuitous butt shots and all that from her, which it was a little disappointing because, like I said, everything that when she is sexual in a different kind of way, other than, you know, most, you know, just sexy actresses. And she was just going for the TNA shots. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I didn't like it.
Well, fine, you guys. That's
yeah. I'm the pretentious one though, right, Becki?
But yeah.
But yeah. Let's just talk about her real quick in the MCU. Nah. That's all I got.
I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, me too.
All right, moving on. Night of Cups, a Terrence Malick film, one that I really wanted to get to, did not get to it. You guys get to
nope.
Night of Cups?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jane Got a Gun. I heard it was terrible, so I chose not to.
No, it wasn't terrible.
Oh, okay. Talk about it.
It was actually her. It empowered her. It was an empowering role for her because she wasn't this little demure housewife, or she wasn't a victim in this. She was kicking ass in this one. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great different role for her because she was, you know, in charge of, I mean, she was not large and in charge because she's tiny, but she was, I mean, she had some power and some strength in her character, whereas in her other ones you didn't really see that much. I thought it was a great like kind of breakout role for her as far as a powerful female character.
Yeah, I agree with Debbie on this one. I enjoyed the film. I'm not a huge fan of Westerns generally. No. I feel that but in this she showed us that now I thought the casting in this film was strange. Like the hi, you're touching me. What are you doing? Putting your hand in the camera. Anyway.
Oh, I was moving something. I'm like, what? That's a line in the film?
We're live, everybody.
People are gonna have any context to that when they're watching this backwards either.
Damn, I'm distracted. Anyway, she's great in this. I think again, this is another turn for her, coming from roles where she's like Debbie says tofu, where she's kind of like, just taking in the flavor of whatever's around her, as opposed to being breakout. Like I said, the casting in this film, I think they could have cast it differently and give her a couple of different
male leads to work with.
Yeah, this was strange casting. As far. However, I will say it was really fun to see Ewan McGregor be a bad guy. Like I really enjoyed seeing Ewan McGregor be a villain. He was a lot of fun, and so that was fun. And I think she did a great job. I did not hate this film. I don't think it. Again, the casting I think was strange, but aside from that, her performance by itself, standing alone, is quite good.
Yeah, she was a badass. I mean, she was a badass.
This film was just like critically pined, and it got so much shit because it was like in like development hell for a while, and it wasn't supposed to be made, and then it was, and it just had so many problems that I heard the final product just is kind of like an incohesive mess. But I mean, you guys kind of sold it for me, so I might check it out now. I just heard nothing but just horrible things about it. I heard that her performance was fine, and it was good enough, but for the most part, I just heard how much of a shit box this film turned out to be.
Not at all. It's worth a watch. It is worth a watch. I wasn't a shit box at all.
I agree. It's worth a watch. I wouldn't have gone to see it in the theater, but I think rent it or stream it, it's just fine. And if you're just a fun Western, I don't know, it's fine. Yeah, and like I said, again, I can't say how much fun that I had watching Ewan be just like a disgusting bad guy. That was fun.
Did you guys see Jackie?
No.
Pass? Yeah, I again, another one that I was really trying to fit in. I just had a really busy week. And I think that's unfair because I'm sure that was, everyone has those biopic films that they do really well on, and I heard she did great, and I really want to get to it, and maybe it would kind of form my opinion a little differently about her overall work, but I just didn't get to it. So we're going to round the whole conversation out, at least down her filmography, and talk about Annihilation. That's one that I just watched for the first time today. Did you guys see Annihilation?
I just saw it today too. Right before we started this, I watched it. I'm not the biggest sci-fi fan in the world, but I liked it. I liked it. I mean, she was kind of a badass in this one. Again, it was different. Like I said, not a big sci-fi film. It wasn't my favorite of hers. It was okay. It was okay. It wasn't great. It wasn't her. She was good in it for what she was supposed to do. She did her job, and she did it well, as she usually does. But the whole premise, it didn't speak to me too much.
Yeah, I thought that it was really kind of bugging me because her and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and watching Jennifer Jason Leigh in Hateful Eight and how great she was in that, and how it kind of was like a resurgence, and then seeing this, their performances were just like overly muted, and it really was bumming me out. But it kind of, once you watch it, it makes sense why Natalie Portman was kind of doing that muted performance throughout, and she was emotional when she needed to be emotional. This is an Alex Garland film, and stylistically, visually, I think this film was flawless. I think it was amazing to look at. This is the same guy that did Ex Machina, which was just absolutely fantastic. This film was, like I said, it was like sugary candy sweet. It was like watching like I don't know, a visual music video or something like that, where it was very stylistic. But the acting performances, it seemed like it was two different movies, right? It seemed like visually it was a blockbuster, but acting performance wise, it was a made for Netflix, and which is funny because Netflix was the major studio that put this thing out. But the effects were incredible. The crocodile looked great. The bear, I probably will have nightmares tonight of that fucking bear.
Good. I like the bear. The bear was one of the best things in the movie.
Oh my God, that was just absolutely terrifying. And at this point, I think all three of us are so desensitized to everything because, especially you, Becki, because you put this kind of makeup on people, right, as a profession. And then, so getting creeped out by things is not something that's easy to do. And I was freaked when I watched this.
Out easily. None of us creep out easily at all. I mean, it takes an act of Satan to creep me out. I mean, nothing creeps me out. But that bear was good. The bear was good.
Bear was awesome. All right, Beck, what did you think?
So this film moved a little slow for me. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. But story and plot wise, I was like, I could have left it. Visually, I will agree with you that there's a lot of eye candy in this film. And I will say, for me, the creature design was phenomenal. The creature design was unbelievable. The bear stole the show for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And the gore factor when he just rips off her jaw, and that was my favorite scene. That whole scene, I was like, yes, this is my. I was like, okay, bear scene. Oh my God,
that was good. Yeah, me too.
And after that, I was like, okay. I mean, it just I think it peaks and then it drops down. And like you were saying about Jennifer Jason Leigh, oh my God, Hateful Eight. Oh my God, Hateful Eight. I can't even.
That's a whole other show, whole other movie.
But Jennifer Jason Leigh's performance in Hateful Eight, and then this, in contrast to this, is sad. I was watching her in this film, and I just felt like it was painful to watch. You were saying, it was overly muted. It wasn't even that. It was just non-existent.
It was mumblecore. She was unintelligible with her dialogue.
Why is she there?
Yeah, I couldn't understand her behavior, her little tics and her behaviors. While she's acting, she's playing with a pen, or she's writing something down, or she's not making eye contact. There's no reason for her to have been that awkward. It's not really explained, and she's just a weird person on screen to watch. It was a very awkward character. Now Jennifer Jason Leigh is kind of awkward in her own way. I think she's never but that's what kind of makes me.
She's unconventional.
She's very unconventional, and she's always brought that sort of vibe to everything that she's done. And that's kind of why I've always liked her. But in this was I don't even want to stop fiddling with a fucking notepad for 5 goddamn seconds. I don't know. It was so distracting to me. And then I don't know. The movie itself, slow. Monster is awesome, and then slow. And at the end, it just was okay, there you go. There's the end.
Although I will say that the one creature at the end, that humanoid thing that kind of mocked her movements, and that was interesting. I found that I kind of like that.
I felt like I was watching a fucking Tool music video.
Oh my God, you're right. It was a damn Tool video.
I just want to hear, why can't we? I was just oh. At that point, it was overdoing it. And man, Alex Garland kept me completely, talk about another show and another discussion. I was so engrossed with everything from three actors in Oscar Isaacs and the other two, Alicia Vikander and I can't remember the other, Domhnall Gleeson from Ex Machina. He had me, and that's a quiet film, but he had me entrenched at the edge of my seat from credits to credits, and that's what but in this film. But that was more subtle. It was doing it in a less showy way. This film was just the script was so mundane that they just overdid it. And by the time we got to the lighthouse, where everything you had the bones like perfectly put out, and just everything was just so stylistic, and everything was just, you know, at the end you're looking at the giant fart with the eye, and I'm just like, okay.
There's a giant butthole, that big butthole she went in.
Yeah, it's literally just a farting butthole, and I'm just like, okay, you know, you had me with the creature design earlier on. Like I said, even with the crocodile and the whole thing that happens with Tessa Thompson is pretty sweet. But for the most part, it just got to a point where it was just too good visually, where I'm like, okay, I can see why you're overdoing it, because there's just really nothing there. And the very like last segment twist at the end, I was just like, ugh. I actually rolled my eyes.
Yeah. I did a lot of eye rolling in this one, but you know, it's unfortunate. But again, that bear though.
That bear, hashtag that bear though.
We'll see. I'm busy right now.
All right, well, that is all the trips down, you know, the actual movies for Natalie Portman. She has a lot coming up too, so she is a working actress. She does like to be busy, and I'm glad that she's kind of had a nice little resurgence. I forget which one of you said it earlier. I think it was Becki, where yeah, it was you, where you said that that was the first role in Brothers where you took her seriously as a woman. And I think that she kind of has had two careers, where she had this like kick-ass young, like piss and vinegar in her early childhood roles, where she was just always like, she was a 12-year-old girl, but with like a style and a soul of like a 70-year-old Johnny Cash. And I think that was the draw and allure to her back in the day. And now that she's, you know, she's in, like Debbie said, she's capable of doing these just like rip your face off kind of amazing roles, but she just chooses to kind of do stuff. And it's kind of like the opposite of like a Benicio del Toro, to kind of tie it into our last show, where Benicio, you could sprinkle him in and it just elevates everything he's in, where now she's just kind of becoming another one of the people until she takes on these roles. And then she's kind of the best thing about it. Like she was, I think a young Natalie Portman is similar to like a Benicio del Toro.
Yeah, I think though she had the power to, at a very young age, to carry a film as a lead. And that's something that, you know, that is, I don't think is common amongst girls in this day and age, or actresses now at that age that she was. I mean, she was carrying films as a lead at a very, very young age, and kept doing it well. And I will say, after this week, I never want to see.
No, never again. Never.
I'm still not mad. I'm not mad at it. You know, I enjoyed watching the films, thankfully, and it kind of reminded me that she's got her own thing. I mean, she can hold her own, and she's doing well. And you know, we'll see how she does in the future. But it's an impressive body of work at such a young age.
But Becki, next time we're together, we're gonna watch Her Highness. Me and you together. Her Highness.
Let's just do a Your Highness reaction video, just starring, you know, Becki and the Walking Deb.
There you go. Great. It's great.
That's terrible. You guys are awful people.
Why am I awful? I agree with you. I didn't even fucking finish the film.
I never denied being an awful person, so hey. Fine.
All right. Well, I will throw it to the chat, or well, not the chat, but on Twitter for our next episode of Real Actors. I'll throw out like three or four different actors that you guys want to hear dissected from Becki, Debbie, and myself, because I thought that was fun. This kind of puts a little bit of ownership back on all of you. It's, you know, Natalie Portman won the poll, whether I agree with it or not. I would have talked Kathy Bates and Helena Bonham Carter, but like I said, it was kind of nice, because you kind of got it erased that kind of prequel taste from my mouth for Portman, and I realized, oh yeah, she's been incredible in quite a few things. So thank you ladies for joining me on this episode of Real Actors. Walking Deb, talk or tell everyone about your new series on They Said We Said Walker Bites, and where can everyone find you?
I guess we're doing Walker Bites. I think, are we doing weekly Walker Bites? Are we doing?
I don't know. I think it's kind of whenever. It's whenever we feel is necessary to do
Walker
news.
Bites, we'll do Walker Bites. It's a series on the latest news of what's happening in the Fear the Walking Dead and the Walking Dead universe, even though neither one is. Actually, Fear the Walking Dead starts October 12th. So we'll have some more news coming up then for sure, I hope. It was great to do it. It was fun. I hope to keep doing it.
Perfect. And Rebecca Morgan, what are you up to and what's going on? And who are you hoping that we throw out a name? Who do you kind of want to talk about next week or in 2 weeks?
Norton.
What?
Who?
I like a little Edward Norton, please.
Oh, a little. Ooh, I think we all would.
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman would be good too. Yeah.
Oh shit! All right. So okay, so let's throw that out. So we got Edward Norton, Gary Oldman, and who's the third?
Oh.
I don't know. I'll have to think about it. It'll be a surprise.
Okay. Perfect. All right. So yeah, you guys will know when we know.
And you can find me at Walking Deb at Twitter on Twitter at the Walking Deb.
66.
No, I'm not on Twitter. Am I?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. The Walking Deb 66.
Oh, okay. Yeah. John knows more than I do about me. So yeah, there you go.
Becki, where can everyone find you?
Well, you can find me on Instagram at Rebecca Morgan Creative. On Instagram, I am displaying my artwork. I do commission work, and I'm teaching. If you're in the Vegas area, I still have seats available for Thursday. I am teaching a clown makeup workshop with a brief history of clown makeup also. So that'll be fun. And I'm also now a tweeter. That's because of my brother. My brother made me a tweeter. So I'm on Twitter at, what is it? I don't know, Becki Morgan 74.
You made me do it too. I have been on Twitter for years. So yeah, he did it to me too.
Yeah, well, and we just they said we said just hit over the 600 subscriber mark. So thank you all. I mean, just amazing. You know, we don't have the biggest fan base or whatever, but the fan base that we have, the people in the chat, the same people in the chat that just come in every week, pretty much for everything too. It's like most people probably found me for Magic the Gathering stuff, but stayed for the film reviews and even the Walking Dead stuff. It's just awesome. So, I mean, big thanks to Eric Williamson, Paul's in the chat. We had Dr. Efren from Pat Crack Fever, just awesome. Langalia is here. The guys from Bad Movie Night jumped in. Sam Little. I know it's super late for him because I think he's in the UK. Just everyone that is always in the chat hanging out. You guys are like the other part of like the co-host, right? Because you guys are amazing, and I just am really appreciative of the fan base that we have, you know, just the people that like to come in and hang out with us. It's just incredible. It's a great feeling. So thank you. That whole passing 600 subs is for you guys and gals. But you can find me right here on this very channel. They said, we said. You could also find me on Twitter at Orzubdun. I will be broadcasting live tomorrow night at Geek Fortress down in Snohomish, Washington for the Hive Mind with TJ Rogers, or at Red Baron MTG. We're going to be doing a live in-person Hive Mind right there at the Geek Fortress. So very fun stuff coming up, and then a bunch of other cool stuff coming up on the channel. So for The Walking Deb and Becki Morgan, I'm John. We will see you next time at the movies.
Bye.